What is happening, guys? Well, it is time for our first album review. And no, it's not going to be Metallica. That album didn't come out till tomorrow. I haven't got it yet. And of course, I want to listen to it a couple times before I do my review on that. But another album came out this week that I know I've mentioned it before, and I've mentioned it in one of the comments from my previous video. But the new In Flames album, Battles, came out this week, and I've jotted down some notes. I've listened to the album, really analyzed it, and I wanted to kind of give you guys my thoughts on it, and do a review of the album. So maybe it might help you decide whether or not you want to pick it up or not. Anyway, my overall thoughts about this album is it's really reminiscent of a couple of older albums, and I would say if you took the album Come Clarity and Reroute to Remain, which those are the two definitive albums for me. Reroute to Remain was my introduction to In Flames, and Come Clarity was really, I think, whenever they hit their sound. Every band, they kind of change from album to album until they hit that definitive sound. Most bands, some bands continue to evolve over that, but a lot of bands hit that definitive sound, and that's kind of what they go with for the rest of their career. And I think that's what happened at Come Clarity. That's whenever they hit that, and every album since then has had that same sound and something a little bit different. But for me, my favorite album was always Come Clarity, and even the Sounds of a Playground album. I can't remember the name of the one with The Mirror's Truth on it. I can't remember the name of that album, but those were great. But something about those just didn't beat Come Clarity for me. This one, after I listened to it a few times, this one might beat Come Clarity as my favorite In Flames album. This was excellent, but like I said, it's really reminiscent of a combo between Come Clarity and Reroute to Remain. If I'm going to name a standout track, really it's a toss-up between the first track and 10th track, which would be respectively Drainer and Under My Skin. Something about Drainer, though, it really just launches the album off and just punches you right in the face, and it's brutal melodic metal. Just is what In Flames does best, and Drainer just really just sets this album off, and it sets the bar up here, and that bar never lowers through the rest of the album. The number 2 song on there, The End, is probably the one I would say is probably the most catchy, as far as the guitar riff, and the chorus especially is really catchy. Like Sand, track number 3, if you could say that In Flames does a ballad, kind of like the song Come Clarity is sort of a ballad, I would say number 3 is sort of a ballad, even though it does kind of pick up and have heavier moments in there. But it's a really groovy melodic ballad. Let's see, track number 5, I can't think of the name of it right offhand, but that was probably the one track that had a lot of elements in it that were reminiscent of Reroute to Remain, with I would say with like the guitar harmonies and the synthesizers and the synthesizer type sounds and stuff like that, really reminiscent of Reroute to Remain. I know I mentioned that a lot, but like I said, Reroute to Remain was the album that launched me into In Flames. So I use that as almost like a measuring stick. And then of course Come Clarity, since it's my favorite album of theirs, that one's a big time measuring stick to measure their stuff. Track number 8, another, I didn't, when I was making my notes, I didn't write down all the track numbers. I should have, but track number 8 on there, if I'm not mistaken, that's the song called Battles, which is the title track of the album, and that had some definite guitar harmonies that was reminiscent of some old In Flames. I don't know if you guys know the song Zombie Incorporated, but there's some guitar harmonies in the heavy parts, and this song has a lot of those same type of guitar harmonies, so it really brought me back, gave me a really strong sense of nostalgia. Track number 11, Wallflowers, the heaviest track. Now it does lull down, kind of like the song off Come Clarity. I think it's called Your Bedtime Stories Are Scaring Everyone. It's really slow, but whenever it kicks in, it's heavy, it's slow, it's got weight behind the guitar riffs and the drums, and that's what I thought about the track number 11, Wallflower. Track number 12, which is the last regular track, because track 13 to 14 are bonus tracks. It's called Save Me. Now, maybe if I was to name a weakest track, I would say this one, and I don't necessarily think that any of the tracks are weak, but this one probably had the least impact on me, and maybe it's because the heaviness of Wallflower was just so saturated, you know, with metal weight that this song didn't feel, you know, it didn't feel as full as that song did. So that's the only thing that I could say, because really, that, if anything, that's the only even slightly negative thing I could say about this album. Now, tracks 13 and 14, they feel different than every other track, and maybe that's, you know, that's the idea behind bonus tracks. You know, bands put out bonus tracks that you know, that sometimes the songs that they put out don't really fit the groove of the rest of the album. That's kind of what I feel with these two. Great is Greed. It's an alright song. I mean, it's not great. It's nothing that really stands out, but it's definitely a different feel than the rest of the album. Now, the last song on there, Us Against the World, is probably, of either one of these two, the one that would fit with this album the most, but it's still drastically different, and it's really reminds me of the old like thrashy In Flames. But with the way that the song closes out and the way that it feels like a good closure to this album. Like if you're reading a book and you get to that last page, this song is the cover closing that book. This is a complete album from beginning to end. I would highly recommend any of you guys that are into metal, if you know, especially you In Flames fans, if you haven't already got this, but if you're really into metal, especially that melodic metal of bands like this, and then like some of the you know, the mid albums from Killswitch Engage, or you know, some of the All That Remains, stuff like that. They're really melodic top metal. I would really highly recommend this album. But guys, that's been my review for this one. Stay tuned in the next couple days as I get this new Metallica album tomorrow, and I listen to it a few times to start giving my thoughts on it. I know from what we've heard so far of what was released in August, September, and October, I'm very, very hyped for that album. So stay tuned for that review. And guys, I will see you guys in that next video. Later.